Those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. We lost our freedom because we were squabbling amongst ourselves, infighting, jealousies, bitterness, discord, divides. So the foreigners came, they divided us and they ruled. We must remember that there are still challenges facing the country, threats facing the country. Above all, we need to revisit the freedom struggle to understand the need for national unity, integration, commitment, nationalism, patriotism. We need to revisit the freedom struggle to be inspired and be motivated by the sacrifices that our freedom fighters made to get us independence.
The British East India Company arrived in India in 1608, initially as traders in spices, silk, cotton, indigo, tea and opium. Motivated by economic gains, they sought opportunities in the lucrative trade of these commodities, leading to the gradual expansion and eventual colonization of the Indian subcontinent. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 marked the turning point as the British East India Company defeated the Nawab of Bengal, leading to the political control over India. The Battle of Buxar in 1764 consolidated British control as Captain Munro defeated joint forces, and after Plassey, Clive became the governor of Bengal. In 1765, he secured the Diwani right, solidifying British supremacy and political influence. Plassey's victory initiated British dominance, leading to annexations, cruelty and subjugation, and establishing them as the foremost power in India. The 1857 Indian Rebellion stemmed from economic, social, religious, political grievances like low wages, religious tensions over pig fat grease cartridges, racial prejudices and annexations. Mangal Pandey, with his act of defiance, symbolized the initial spark of resistance. Bahadur Shah II, the last Mughal emperor, became a figurehead for the rebellion, rallying support in Delhi. Tatya Tope and Nana Sahib organized and led uprisings in central India, while Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi fiercely defended her kingdom against British forces. Kanwar Singh, an elderly zamindar, rose up in Bihar, leading guerrilla warfare. Together, these leaders represented a diverse range of regions and backgrounds, yet shared a common goal of opposing British rule, inspiring widespread rebellion. Rani Lakshmi Bai's valor in defending Jhansi became emblematic of the rebellion spirit. However, British military superiority, the lack of unified leadership, and stringent laws against uprisings hampered the rebellion. The early capture and execution of Mangal Pandey weakened morale, while the absence of coordinated strategies and communication hindered effective resistance. Moreover, divisions along religious and regional lines also contributed to the failure of the Sepoy Mutiny. The rebellion saw widespread executions, brutal reprisals, the capture of Delhi, and the exile of Bahadur Shah Zafar. The dissolution of the East India Company followed, leading to the direct British rule with Calcutta as the capital until 1911. Despite its failure, the rebellion laid the foundation for future nationalist movements, eventually leading to India's independence. In the early 1900s, the Indian National Congress saw the emergence of prominent leaders like Motilal Nehru, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale, alongside stewards like Dadabhai Naoroji and Annie Besant. Their leadership bolstered the call for an independent India, advocating for self-governance and social justice. Motilal Nehru's legal expertise, Lala Lajpat Rai's fervent nationalism, Tilak's militant approach, and Gokhale's emphasis on education and social reform diversified the INC's strategies. Together, they galvanized public support, staging protests, and demanding political representation. Their collective efforts intensified the movement for independence, shaping the course of an Indian history and laying the foundation for future struggles against colonial rule. Also, patriotic songs like Vande Mataram emerged, serving as anthems of resistance and unity against India's struggle for independence. Mahatma Gandhi, born in 1869, studied law and practiced as an attorney in South Africa, where he confronted racial discrimination firsthand, shaping his commitment to nonviolent resistance and equality in India. An incident that profoundly shaped Gandhi's future thinking occurred while he was traveling in a train in South Africa. Despite having a first class ticket, he was thrown out of the compartment because of his brown skin. A white Christian man sharing the compartment felt uncomfortable with Gandhi's presence and complained.
Tell me, you think about hell? No, neither do I. But this man here is a Christian. What another thing he says about the Christian man?
I'm so sorry, sir, but I just want to know who you are and why are you here and what were you doing in South Africa?
My name is N.K. Gandhi and I was studying law and I'm an attorney here.
Well, for how long have you been here?
A week.
No way. I don't know how you got your ticket. Never mind.
What are you doing in this all-white train?
I have a ticket, a first class ticket.
Colored people are not allowed in this train.
But I have been an attorney here.
Get out.
The train incident propelled Mahatma Gandhi to join the Congress in South Africa, but his heart drew him to India in 1915, where he was warmly welcomed by Congress members.
In the eyes of God, we are one, born by the same moral laws and spiritual principles. Our difference in nationality, race, or religion are superficial. Beneath them, we are united as members of the human family. Let us cast aside the shackles of division, for together as one nation, we can achieve greatness and forge a future of harmony and cooperation.
His first speech at the Congress made him people's leader. Determined to grasp India's struggles and the plight of the people, he embarked on a journey across the nation. On his journeys, he witnessed extreme poverty, illiteracy, and deplorable conditions of his countrymen, especially farmers. Settling at Sabarmati Ashram in Gujarat, he adopted a life of simplicity, supported unwaveringly by his wife Kasturba as they dedicated themselves to India's liberation cause. The Champaran movement was Gandhi's first major campaign in India, aimed at improving the plight of indigo farmers. On March 18, 1919, the Rowlatt Act was passed. The act allowed certain political cases to be tried without juries and permitted internment of suspects without trial. From 1919 to 1922, Gandhi initiated Satyagraha to protest against the Rowlatt Act, due to which he was arrested along with his followers. On 12th April 1919, General Dyer passed an act named the Martial Law, stating that no more than 2 people can form a group and meet at a place. This act was enacted to prevent any form of a mobilized protest against the ruling authorities. Then on April 13th, 1919, on this day of the Baisakhi festival, the martial law was violated when 10,000s of people came to Amritsar from surrounding villages to attend the city's traditional fairs. Thousands of these people, many unaware of Dyer's recent ban on public assemblies, convened at Jallianwala Bagh, where a nationalist demonstration was being held. Dyer's troops surrounded the park and without warning opened fire on the crowd, killing several hundred and wounding more than 1,000. This heinous act, which killed innocent men, women and children, enraged one and all and gave rise to many more freedom fighters and revolutionaries who wanted to oust this cruel regime. Gandhi's Charkha and the non-cooperation movement in 1920 emerged as powerful tools in India's struggle for independence. Gandhi, recognizing the importance of economic independence, championed the promotion of Khadi and the Charkha. By advocating the boycott of foreign cloth and liquor, he aimed to reduce the nation's reliance on British goods, emphasizing self-sufficiency. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre served as a catalyst, intensifying anti-British sentiments and providing the necessary impetus, marked by boycott of British institutions. However, the movement had faced challenges that hindered its success. The Chai Chara incident in 1922, where protesters turned violent and set a police station ablaze, leading to police casualties, led to Gandhi abruptly calling off the movement. The Simon Commission, appointed by the British government to assess India's readiness for self-government, faced protests due to its all-British composition and lack of Indian representation. Lala Lajpat Rai led a demonstration against it, resulting in a brutal lathi charge by the police, leading to his tragic death, further fueling anti-British sentiments. Angered by Lala's death in 1928, the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, led by Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev and others, advocated violence as the only means. Bhagat Singh, a revolutionary freedom fighter, orchestrated the killing of British police officer J.P. Saunders. In 1929, Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt bombed the Central Legislative Assembly in protest against repressive laws. They surrendered, seeking to inspire revolutionary fervour against British rule. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were hanged in 1931 for their involvement in killing Saunders and the court bombing. The civil disobedience movement in 1930, propelled by Gandhi's Salt March, symbolized a resolute challenge to unjust British laws, notably the salt tax. The iconic Dandi March became a beacon of non-violent resistance, drawing widespread participation. Remarkably, women played dynamic roles, defying traditional norms to actively contributing to the movement. The collective defiance marked by a transformative phase in India's fight for independence, highlighting the power of non-violent protest against oppressive colonial policies. However, despite its significant impact in the mobilizing the masses, the march itself did not achieve immediate success. Gandhi's arrest, along with the imprisonment of numerous followers, weakened the leadership and disrupted the momentum. The British government's repressive measures, including mass arrests and censorship, aimed to suppress the movement. Additionally, the march did not immediately lead to substantial changes in British policies. However, it served as a catalyst for broader support for the independence movement and highlighted the resilience of the non-violent resistance. Amid World War II, Gandhi initiated the Quit India movement in 1942, demanding immediate British withdrawal. Marked by mass protests, including Gandhi's Do or Die slogan, it intensified the call for self-rule. Despite repression, it became a pivotal movement, galvanizing India's struggle for independence. Subhash Chandra Bose, a significant figure in India's freedom struggle, advocated for socialist ideology and urged Congress to create an Indian army to fight the British. Angered by Indians fighting for Britain in World War II, he persuaded Japan to allow him to form an Indian army with prisoners of war. Despite training and attacking the British in 1945, the attempt failed. Nonetheless, Bose's efforts underscored his commitment to liberating India from colonial rule.
They are the sacrifices of the Azad Hind Fauj. Out of 60,000, 26,000 laid down their lives fighting for this country. Those are enormous sacrifices, and we must bear them in mind. We must let these sacrifices inspire us and motivate us.
Subhash Chandra Bose hailed Gandhi as the father of the nation, coined "Give me blood and I'll give you freedom," and adopted Jai Hind as the war cry for his army.
Jai Hind.
The divide and rule policy by the British culminated in the last blow of partition in 1947. Gandhi's meeting with Jinnah highlighted the religious divide, leading to the creation of separate Hindu and Muslim states, resulting in the partition between India and Pakistan. The partition sparked violent Hindu-Muslim Sikh riots, leading to widespread bloodshed, displacement, and communal tensions. The partition riots resulted in countless deaths and widespread killings, leaving a devastating legacy of violence. The partition saw trains overloaded with migrants, symbolizing the turmoil of displacement, separation from loved ones, and violence. The train massacres epitomize this tumultuous period in history.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
The independence of India in 1947, marked by Nehru's Tryst with Destiny speech, symbolized the culmination of sacrifices and struggles. While joyous, it was overshadowed by tragic partition, yet signified the dawn of self-governance and progress. Flag hoisting on August 15, 1947 heralded a new era of democracy and the pursuit of India's destiny. Alongside prominent figures like Nehru and Gandhi, countless unsung heroes contributed to India's freedom struggle, sacrificing their lives for the nation's independence. Their courage and commitment remain integral to India's history and serve as a testament to the collective spirit of the Indian people.
What does freedom mean to us? It means dignity, the ability to breathe free, the ability to do any job that you want, the ability to say what you want within the limits of the law of the land. It gives you freedom to choose your profession, to choose where you will live, to choose where you will go. That is freedom. But that was an abomination imposed upon India. It was a cruel regime that just did not care for the welfare of the Indian people, and it allowed them to die in their millions. I'd like to highlight this with a very graphic example, right? Before 1947, if you went to any very high-end club in India, whether the Deccan Gymkhana Club, the Defence Services Officers Institutes Club, etc., you found a board outside which said Indians and dogs not allowed. That means Indian people were being equated with dogs, and only the white people, the Saabs and Mem Saabs, could go to that particular club. How demeaning, how insulting, and what a great blow to any citizen's self-respect. Want to know what the difference is? Today, India is a food surplus country. Average age of Indians has gone up to above 70 years. That is what freedom means.
तुझ पे कोई गम की आँच आने नहीं दूं, तुझ पे कोई गम की आँच आने नहीं दूं। कुर्बान मेरी जान तुझ पे शाद रहे तू, कुर्बान मेरी जान तुझ पे शाद रहे तू। है वतन वतन मेरे